As a student athlete at the University of Saskatchewan, Don Clark distinguished himself as a leader. He was named captain of the Huskies football team for the 1964-65 season and won the Rusty McDonald Cup, awarded for leadership, sportsmanship, athletics, and academics. As a member of the wrestling team in the heavyweight class, Clark won a conference championship in 1965 and a provincial championship in 1967. It was after his career as an athlete ended that Clark would make his most lasting contributions to sport. After a brief stint as an assistant coach with the Huskies football team, he took a job at the university's Regina College in 1970 and soon became the coach of the wrestling club. It was a position he'd hold until 1985. In every year Clark was in charge of the program, the Cougars produced at least one conference champion. In 1983, he was named Great Plains Athletic Association Coach of the Year.
There was a good high school program in Saskatchewan that had been started by my coaches at the University of Saskatchewan, and so I was able to have some success relatively early in my coaching career as a result of the very strong high school wrestling program in our province. And so the lesson, or one of the lessons I learned in that situation, is to make sure that I cultivated that relationship with the high school coaches in Saskatchewan, so that I had athletes coming into the program who had a fairly good background in the sport of Olympic wrestling.
Clark's success as a coach brought him to work with the Canadian national men's wrestling team. He was the team manager for the 1977 and 91 World University Games and the 1978 Commonwealth Games. In 1980 and 84, he worked as a coach during the team's Olympic training camps, and in 1996, he served as the Canadian team wrestling leader at the Olympic Games in Atlanta. During the same time period, Clark was the Cougars' head coach. He was also a member of the executives of Saskatchewan's Amateur Wrestling Association, including president from 1973 to 85.
Sask Sport was being formed at that time. I was the president of the Saskatchewan Amateur Wrestling Association when the first meetings of Sask Sport were held, the formation meetings. So I'm very proud of that involvement in terms of the growth of amateur sport in Saskatchewan as a result of the formation of the Sports Federation. I'm also very proud of the situation that occurred within a few years after that, when provincial sports governing bodies got their first full-time professional staff. And of course, Saskatchewan Amateur Wrestling Association was one of the first of the provincial sports governing bodies who was able to employ a technical director, or we actually called them provincial coaches at that time, and an executive director.
His work with SAWA led to Don becoming a founding member of Sask Sport in 1972, becoming Sask Sport's first vice president of sport from 1997 to 99. Don also served as vice president for the Canadian Amateur Wrestling Association from 1997 to 2002. I
was fortunate enough to be selected as one of the Canadian Amateur Wrestling Association, CAWA, delegates to the COC meetings as a Category A member, which means you get to vote, so that you could play a role in determination of the Executive Committee and the policy for the Canadian Olympic Committee.
Clark retired from coaching in 1985, but remained active in sport as a volunteer. He became the director of the National Coaching Institute in Saskatchewan in 2008 and still held the position as of 2012. In 2010, he went to the Vancouver Winter Olympics, this time as the managing director of the Saskatchewan Pavilion.
One memory that'll always stand out with me is that in 1999 in Winnipeg, I was a technical delegate to the Pan American Organizing Committee. I did not know at that time that I was going to be presented with the highest award in the International Wrestling Federation, their Gold Star. And of particular note was that at the time of the presentation, Juan Antonio Samaranch, who was then president of the IOC, was going to be the person who would actually present me that medal along with the Canadian delegate who sits on the International Federation. So I'll never forget that moment that I met him and had some time to chat with him.
Installed in the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame on June 16, 2012, Don Clark.